The ramble is probably going to be most of this video on YouTube, too. It's probably just me rambling, because, I mean, I didn't really get much gameplay. Every game I was getting stomped out immediately and couldn't display anything that the deck could do. Like, oh, I'm going to play my commander, and then I'm going to play... It's like I couldn't even show what it does, even in games I lost, because I'm getting swarmed and annihilated, and nothing matters. I can't even, like, get a creature into play to put counters on, because my commander can't live, or the creature I target dies. Right? I can't even show it doing anything in losing games. I'm getting shut out completely. So, yep, that's it. Alright. We're here with Halana and Alena Partners. Don't see this card too often, but it's a 4-mana 2/3 first strike reach. Beginning of combat, put X counters on another creature, it can't target itself, where X is this thing's power, mostly 2, and then that creature also gets haste. So it's literally Xenagos, except it costs 4 mana, and the power boost is around forever, and that's pretty cool. I like the idea of that. I don't know if it's just better than Xenagos, because Xenagos is a little bit difficult to deal with. It's just sitting there as an enchantment. This is not. But I do like the idea of this, you know, growing something out of control. It can't target itself, because if it could, then it would be like +2, and then +4, and then +8, and then suddenly your opponent's dead. So you can grow this with combat tricks or whatever, and that's pretty interesting. We just played a deck where kind of Hardened Scales made sense, so I'm in a Hardened Scales mood, and this is a lot more Hardened Scales friendly. So let's see what this commander looks like, shall we? Alright, yeah, Xenagos works. So I think Great Henge or Skullspore might come out. Those are the two. I mean, someone could probably make an argument for this coming out because it's quad red. But this is the card that I'm going to run until it does something, and then I'll stop running it. That's what this card is going to be. Okay, yeah, so this is what the list looks like. A lot of things that care about 1/1 counters, Gruul beats, right? Some card advantage if we get there. Anzrag, because it's funny. It also gets a second combat trigger if it actually gets blocked. And it does swing immediately as a 10/8, or a 10/6, assuming this is not dead. So that's pretty cool. And, yeah, I already talked about Harvester. So I need a card to take out, and then we're going to send it. Okay, maybe it's not an Ember. We're probably closer to going tall than we are going wide. Yeah. Alright, it's probably not an Embercleave deck. And if it is, well, we can put it back in. But Force of Vigor seems alright here, and that's why it's here. So, yep. I'm not going to run any manlands, though. This is not my kind of deck, that's for sure. But you know what? I need like a better version of the bear. That's what I'm looking for emotionally right now. Yeah, no, it's not. It doesn't look too off from lists I'm looking online, so. Or the list I just looked at. Maybe more Mana Dorks on turn 2? This is definitely a you must have your commander by turn 3 in play kind of vibes. I just can't seem to like ever get that to do anything. So do I play Pack Leader? There's a 5 damage total power, but it makes me want to. Well, no, I can play that. We can do this. We can go 1, 2, play this for 1, which I guess I will, and then play this. And play Facebreaker? No, we play Fable, because Facebreaker can't swing. Or rather, I'm not going to have it swing right now. Do this, and then we get the thing. Like the trigger. Revels is an excellent card. Excellent card here. We have not seen a board wipe out of any deck yet. Which is interesting. Opponent does not have a fetch land. And probably has to block with this. So let's get rid of you and you. Okay, that wasn't really all that great. Let's play Revels. Yep. Let's play this thing. And then tap this to play this. And I guess I do give that haste, right? Yeah. Now, their command, that thing is still big, but I'm still just swinging all out. Like, I'm still swinging all out. If I lose my, like, anything, it is what it is. But I'm obviously just trying to actually kill my opponent. Actually, killing my commander is probably the one I would not have blocked there. That's kind of weird. Probably would have blocked almost anything else. But it doesn't matter. It just boils down to them having a sweeper or they lose. And a sweeper might not be good enough, depending on what it is. Alright, we did it. We actually did it. We won a game. It took an hour. It took an hour to win with this, but I did it. And we did it with what I envisioned is a pretty solid opener. I haven't had an opener like this though for an hour. So we finally got there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it's just in Hell Q, which it seems like it is, kind of, then it's a really bad card because it can't keep up with what I've been playing against. It doesn't even come close. I even looked at lists online. It just doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna keep trying. That just doesn't give me tier 1 vibes at all. Honestly, now that the Zenna goes. Get this mashed potatoes on my face. Smelling all that buttery goodness, but it's empty. I can't eat any because it's all gone. Dodged a counterspell, dodged a board wipe, and I had to play into them too. I couldn't like avoid them. We haven't had a Cavernous Souls hand yet though, and they're jeez. Well, excuse me. Okay, well, you know what? Literally over an hour. First time I bring up Cavernous Souls, it's like, you haven't had what? That's weird. Alright. Well, I mean, I have it. So, now what? I have it in the same hand. I have a quad red card, though. Still refuse to take this out. I don't care. I refuse. It's going to do something, and then it goes away. It's the red Phyrexian Obliterator. Except way, way, way worse. Unless you have, like, Faithless Looting or something to get, like, permanent value, assuming you can't play all the cards out of it. Agent of Rafine is nuts. That is a nuts card, especially from a deck like this. I don't know what's going on here. This is certainly not a matchup where it does anything of severe consequence. I almost, you know what, I probably should have just named Goblin, because War Boss is, like, that good. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe War Boss actually isn't that good, because they do, excuse me, they have a 1/1 blocker. They gave me map tokens. Interesting. I can actually use those. Can actually, this is 4 mana, right? Yeah. It's just band control. I mean, it doesn't really do anything on its own turn. Not that I don't think it really does, at least. I don't think my list did. Wow, they just run that out. Really? Interesting. Opponent untaps a white source and does, in fact, maybe have something to do with said white source. Let's put this on human or druid? What is it? Human or ranger? I guess there's more humans. I don't think there's any rangers. Am I casting it? I probably am. I don't know why they had to actually think about what they untapped if they have a genuine thing to do with the white mana. Yeah, like they sat here for 20 minutes thinking what to untap and have the perfect white card, so I don't know what that's about. But sure. Well, this is horrendously bad. I can upkeep map token. I'm not going to do that. Wait, what? That's a weird. I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would have done that. That's weird. Who knows? Maybe it is good. They also didn't untap their agent. Which, again, I think rather weird. So, do I play Flare, or do I play something that stops attacks? I kind of want to play Flare so I can get into the Harvester. That's probably the right idea. Who knows? It's the idea I went with, so. And I'll play the tap land here. Alright, so I can play Harvester. And my opponent isn't drawing cards with the Revi. If they were, the game would be over, but they're not doing that. There are not many cards in my deck that are, like, super scary to steal. Really. At all, actually. Just, like, kind of random stuff. They can activate Rafine again. What the heck is this? Whenever you cast a creature spell without flying, get a flying version of it. Alright. Well, we're going to play this and stop the ground attack. I'm going to... Well, that's all I can do, right? There's... Oh, this is a human! This is a human! It's a human. I can cast it. I didn't think I had the red mana. I thought it was just a werewolf and wolf. Okay, my opponent stole probably the best card ever. Cool. So they stole a lightning bolt. Fascinating. Yeah, man, I wish this had reach. Unfortunately, I probably have to actually swing with it, too. Yeah, I think I actually have to swing with it. So it looks like it just won't be triggering. It does have Menace. I am technically winning this race, but getting some help out of my deck would be ideal. And my opponent to stop having, like, god tier answers. Everything. Be pretty cool. Okay. That's also problematic. Okay. More ultimate, perfect god tier answers. Sounds about right. Put a counter on the 2/2 or Bill. Probably Bill. And then put more counters on Bill. Do I swing with Bill? It's not like it's ever blocking. It's just not efficiently or effectively blocking, so... My opponent has not drawn a land in, I think, about 4 turns. They finally draw a land. They finally draw a land here. I think it was even more than 4 turns, actually. Opponent stole another card that I would have really liked to have. Bristly Bill does not get trample from this or anything. Yep. Opponent's just, like, stealing the best things ever. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, how come I can't... Like, if I drew this, I was actually... Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe not. It's not as good as the Lightning Bolt, but it does certainly close the game out, where I otherwise, you know, could have done something, and now I cannot. I don't think there's any card in my deck that does anything at this point. Oh, you can't upkeep maps. It's sorcery only. Guess I'm forced to draw Birds of Paradise. Whoop-de-doo. Come on, man. Like, how? How? I don't think I can stabilize with just Bristly Bill's triggers. But maybe? Maybe. Let's put a counter on the... The Gilded Goose is a 2-4? Excuse me, a 3-5? Might be viable? Can I swing with this bill? Probably, right? Yeah. Opponent has perfect information. I could have made everything slightly larger if I chose to as well. Could have done that. Or rather put another counter on the goose. Maybe it was right. I don't know. Can still do it with Bristly Bill's ability. So do I just activate Bristly Bill? There's no reason not to, right? I don't see why I wouldn't. I think pushing more damage is probably better. I don't know. Did they already choose no blocks? I'm actually not even sure. I think they chose to not block. Okay, no, they did not go to blocks yet. All right. This is not that bad, though. This is fine. But I don't have anything going on is the problem. I took myself off the food token, the food, whatever. But I don't think that really matters. I should have waited till, like, after blocks to do that, though. But I'm probably still just sending it. Like, by the time it gets to my turn, it's going to be sent, whether it's there or later. So, it doesn't really matter when you do it, I don't think. So, they stole a land this time. Which means, I guess there were 3 lands in a row on the top of my deck. I guess. Blind Obedience, sure. That shuts down new creatures from attacking immediately with haste. Which I don't think is too big of a deal. Extorting is a little concerning here, though. But again, without card advantage, I'm not terribly thrown out, you know, for a tizzy about the situation here. I have 2 things that can block flyers, and they are the biggest creatures in the air. Or for the air. I will crack this now. Did I play the Surveil land? Was it stolen? I don't even know. Nope, it's still right there. Okay. Let's put a counter on this. So, we get rid of this land. My opponent may not activate Agent of Rapine. Maybe they would if I kept it on top. Who knows? Toski enters tapped. Still gonna play it. Does this mean I swing with anything and they don't block it? That's the main question here. I don't know. I don't know. Put a counter here. Spread the love around. Put more counters on this token, I guess. And swing. It's almost to the point where they have to block everything. They have to block at least one of these. Which I think is pretty free, right? I think it's pretty free to do that. Opponent agrees. Tamiyo probably won't flip, so it makes sense to get rid of it here, I think. I don't think I have to activate my... Yeah, I don't have to send the ability right now if my opponent blocked them anyways. They don't get trampled. And I hate the perfect information, but it is what it is. So now I have a food token out. There's not a lot that Agent of Rapine can do to turn this around. Like, there's just not many crazy things in my deck. Do they have lethal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They technically have lethal in damage, but I have a food token if they had, like, River's Rebuke. They stole Birds of Paradise. Okay. They do extort. That is the first time they extorted. Do we extort again? Probably, right? They're not using your min at this point. Extort twice. 2 flyers, only one has power. Okay. Almost at the point where they have to block all of my creatures. It's actually quite close to that. Sure. And we sink into Bristly Bill to make everything a lethal threat instead of eating or creating a food, which I also would kind of like doing. I draw literally nothing, sounds about right. Put the counter here, put the rest on Toski, makes another lethal threat. Now they have to block every single creature. They have to block all of them, so a total attack makes sense. They literally have to block every single one, because they will all die to the Bristly Bill. Maybe they're not aware of it, and they just let the last one go through? Probably not, though. I mean, they've been playing pretty tight so far, yeah. And as long as they block everything, again, there's no trample or anything, so no Bristly Bill activation. In order here, in the works. Got rid of the agent, too. Opponent has lethal in play, but I do have a food token, so I'm not dead. I don't think they can get lethal out of... Well, maybe they can. I don't know. Maybe swinging with everything was wrong? Who knows? It's not like if I don't swing, then they, you know... Then what? It probably just gets worse for me. I could have left behind one attacker or something, and then had a blocker, and... But then they just would have one additional creature. So it doesn't feel like that makes sense. I don't think it does. Okay. I think I win. I think I win. Delny only did 1 additional damage. No! They stole a 1-mana card. Dang. They stole a 1-mana card with the agent. And then this triggered twice because of Delny. So if I didn't if I left behind one attacker, they would have an additional creature. I don't know what creature that would be, right? But let's say I could have kept a blocker. I guess I live? I guess I live? Super close game. That was a cool game. Tragic. I guess I do live if I leave behind a blocker, but I don't know. You know what? Yeah. Ow, I just cracked my knuckles way too hard. Leaving behind it Gilded Goose would have probably made sense because not only is it a blocker, it could make another food. And I was probably fine. So I actually would have won that if I saw that. I don't know. That might be hard to see because it's like everything's scary and my opponent has to block everything. But I think I was fine if I didn't swing the goose for sure. Oh well. Cool game. Yeah. Yeah, just call it a quickie. So this commander is terrible. It is one of the worst commanders I have ever played by a landslide, and that is because it is stuck in Tier 1. You play against Teferis, Keenans, Golos, all the other 47 Hell-Q things that are up there, and you're not one of them. You can't beat them consistently. I looked up lists of this commander to see how different mine was to other people's, and it wasn't really that different. In fact, it might have been, well, aside from Harvester and maybe the 5-mana cards in general, because they seem completely unreachable, it was pretty straightforward for like what you would think this commander likes to play. So it's, you know, it's not like a goofy, inefficient version of it. Again, I looked at other lists online. I don't normally do that either. And I was like, all right, if I'm stuck in, you know, Potato Q, I should probably... not Potato Q, Hell Q, then I guess I should look what I need to do to actually play Magic the Gathering. And it doesn't work. It's not functional. You lose to a lot of the Tier 1 bracket, right? A lot of it. Honestly, all of it. You sort of lose to all of it. And if that's the case and they deem this too powerful for a lower tier, then I kind of disagree with that. I don't think honestly I was doing anything that felt egregious in you know, unobtainable for the lower tier decks to keep up with. Like, oh, you know, I'm just pulling it so far ahead so quickly. Like, no, not really. Not really. In fact, it might be better than Xenagos. I guess, at least someone in chat at some point said Xenagos is also up there in the tier, which makes a little bit more sense because, again, it's hard to actually kill this thing. So then you play it, and then everything after you've played it is now just like a giant scary threat. Whereas this, you played as a 2/3, and then every game I did that, it got lightning bolted or swords to plowshared, and I just looked like I did nothing, right? It demands, because of this, because of you're in Hell Q, it demands you play it on turn 3. You cannot have a game where you play it on turn 4. That's unobtainable. If you don't have a way to play this early, or just on turn 3, then don't play that game. Just concede. If you mulliganing to until you get it. If I at any point could not play this before turn 4 came around, I was done. It was over. Even if the game kept on going, I was not fast enough to do anything to impede the tier 1 decks. If you envision a scenario where you're playing against Teferi, Hero of Dominaria in the command zone, in what universe is playing Halana and Alena on turn 4 going to do anything? You have already lost that game. Unless your intermediate was extremely powerful. And for us, not really, because this commander, I mean, a lot of cards in your deck really like your commander's ability to be going and doing things. And, well, if you can't get that to do anything, you lose. Cavernous Souls is not an answer, right? You can't just Cavernous Souls and make it uncounterable. There's a lot of counterspell decks in tier 1 that do not care about Cavernous Souls. That's, a reason why they might be in tier 1. Post Cavern release is they're also just fine against it. Like, you play, like, okay, it's uncounterable. And if Cavernous Souls is a threat for a tier 1 deck, it's because you're doing something obscenely powerful that's uncounterable. This is just not it. It isn't. You could have never have convinced me that this was tier 1. I would have never have been convinced of that, ever. Literally ever. I think it's worse than Geist of St. Traft. In Geist of St. Traft has the same issue. Too good for anything that's not tier 1, but unwinnable if you're playing against tier 1 decks. So it's in Purgatory. It's too weak for where they put it, and they deem it too strong for where they took it from. Or, tier 2. And again, Geist, that's true. This, I think, is totally reasonable in tier 2, because, again, you can just simply kill it every time they play it, and it doesn't get to do anything. The best game I had, really, was Cabaretti Revel's value engine, right? This is a powerhouse of a card, as long as you have a creature to play all the time. The starting deck list had a lot of things at 5 and 6 and whatever. I had to take all of it out because no game involves anything that costs more than 5 with a commander like this. The card doesn't have anything to do with it's impossible. It's impossible to resolve, like, Inferno Titan, give it haste, and then, like, smash your opponent for 8 with, 6 damage flying everywhere. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I guess that's it. I mean, yeah, that's it. I did get some, I think there was 2 pretty good games. There was a game I actually won. I won a single game. I did sort of lose that long Derevi game, and that was my fault. I should have just taken a step back. I actually probably would have won that game, and shoot, that one game alone made it all worth it, I guess. It was a good game. I didn't end up winning, but I sort of punted at the end. I think I would have won that one, but it was a cool game regardless. I can't recommend this commander to anyone. I play tier 1 sometimes off stream, right? Sometimes, not very often. And when I do play it, I'll either play like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, or one of the other ones. Mostly Teferi, because that's, I get my blue-white control sweaty itch out of the way and stuff. And I gotta say, I've personally never played against this commander as with playing Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. The last game I just played was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria in the opponent's command zone. Like, nobody must be playing this commander. because it's I don't see it when I'm in the tier 1 bracket. No one's playing it. And if you do play it, well, you better just keep rolling the queue and finding an opponent who's not going to trample over you. And that, I mean, that's not fun. I mean, I don't think so. So this is the price we pay for not knowing what tier our commander is. Like, there's no bracket system up front. Like, oh, your commander is in this bracket. Expect to play against these commanders. If you knew that, maybe you don't waste your time building the deck and putting it together if you don't want to be up there. Right, so if there is a list out there that lets you know definitively, especially after the change they made to it all, you can't like track the points of your deck, that would be interesting to see. I could try that and just remove anything that says Mythic on it and start playing weaker opponents, but again, I actually don't think that works anymore. I don't think if I took out all these Mythics, our opponent's power level opponent deck goes down. But some of these Mythics could easily be something else, especially the ones that cost 5. Like, I could drop in fact, because I didn't win any games at all, I would probably end up dropping everything that costs 5. Even Anzrag. I like what this is doing with my commander, but out of sheer desperation to try to weaken the deck so it plays against weaker opponents, I would remove it because it's a Mythic. And I don't know if they deem Mythics a higher weight. Again, we don't know how it works anymore. Right? Not definitively. Maybe there's someone out there that claims they do, and they're stress testing it to see. But as it stands, I did not seem to make my deck weaker, right? Like, I've played Pock with only commons in my deck, and it still put me where you think Pock goes against, like, you know, Pock level opponents. I've played Teferi, I've played Golos as well with only commons in the deck, and it put me against tier 1 opponents. So, like, I don't think that really matters. And if it does, maybe it was because my MMR was high at the time, and I didn't, like, keep trying and losing until it brought the Golos deck down low enough to make sense. But maybe I just didn't stress test enough, right? It's hard to tell. The communication is a little bit vague here. And again, that's the price you pay for having a bracket system that is A, unknown, and B, an unranked format where they deem things should be in a bracket. Like, you know, your platinum players are playing Teferi, and your silver players are playing, well, apparently not this, but whatever silver is. And yeah, so yeah, that's also true. I guess that's true. Someone said in the chat, it's also not fun to just weaken your deck. It's not really fun to weaken your deck. Right? You take out a bunch of rares and mythics, and now your deck is weaker, and, well, now I don't get to play all the juicy, cool things Halana loves to play with, because if I do, I cannot win, because it's putting me against unwinnable matchups, right? And this is not the case for every deck, right? You can finagle and bajankle round your Teferi deck and have a tier 1 deck that's viable, but slightly weaker, right? Or something. You know, you can use Anim, whatever, the weird Clue token investigate guy with the blue-white control. You could just do that, you know, swap out Teferi and have the same exact deck, and you're just happy that way. Or you could weaken your deck and expect a weaker opponents, but even if that did work, which I personally, it doesn't seem to, then now you just have a weaker deck, and while that is pretty cool, you're not playing with the cards maybe you want it to, right? To avoid the tier 1 bracket. And it's really only egregious in commanders where you shouldn't be in tier 1 and you can't do anything about it. That's really where it's egregious. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. Proft. Elquist Proft. That's a wild name. Yeah, silver players playing Ineas. I guess we'll play Ineas next time I play a deck. I don't know, but I mean, I'm going to call this one quits. I played for, 90 minutes? Won a single game. I came close to winning the other one, but I mean, yeah, it's not great. Obviously, Harvester could come out too. Nullhide was actually pretty cool, I will say. So if I just talk about the deck as is, like, what was I doing? Not what was I losing to. It's a cool strategy. It plays pretty interesting cards. You know, you got like this, so if Alana's got another creature, you're growing this at the same time. You know, you've got your random double strikers in here that just double the value of your counters. I didn't really have a lot of ways to get trample, but that doesn't matter too much when your things are massive and not being dealt with. Eventually you're going to hit your opponent. That's not really a big deal. I think I did get a little mana flooded slightly, but I didn't accommodate for removing basic... excuse me. I didn't accommodate for removing a large chunk of the expensive side of the deck. So I could probably, at this point, right, the curve is 2.3. I could, and there's not even that many 4-drops. This one sometimes even is just free. So I could probably shave 1 or 2 lands and add some more random 1-drops and 2-drops. Probably no further 3-drops, and definitely creatures, I would say. Like, if I'm actually gonna just assess what this commander is doing, I think you always want a creature. It's ideal to have one before you cast this, so your most ideal scenario. I think the game I won, I had the ideal scenario, which was something on 1 and 2 that lets you play this on turn 3, and then have something already in play to put counters on. Even if it's a mana dork, it's not a big deal. You just, just send them there. And then the next turn, also have something to play that you can give haste to, right? And then make it a little bit bigger as well. And that's like your ideal scenario. And that's what I was trying to do every game, but I was impeded consistently by everything. That just like, even games where I had that going for me, which, was actually a fair amount of games that was happening. It just was not working because, well, guess what? You play against Rusko, and Rusko has Thoughtseize, Wash Away, 5 2-mana removal spells, and if you ever kill Rusko, it left a mana rock behind, that they could just recast Rusko again, right? It's almost, Rusko is almost like blue-black Golos, because it pays for itself with a mana rock. It enters with a mana rock. So, like, you're just, some commanders you look at in the command zone, and you're like, well, I might as well not even try, I hate to say that, it's doom and gloom, but sometimes that's kind of the vibe you get. Sometimes you probably shouldn't even try. You're just going to lose. And you're going to lose hard and fast. You're not going to lose this slow, grinding, drip feed game where you, like, wasted 15 minutes of your time. No, you're going to lose really quickly, right? So maybe you do just play it out just for the sake of it, but it's just not, it's not functional. It's really not functional. So I'll upload the list with, a more fine-tuned creature package that I might even take out some of the 4s, honestly, and just add some more 1s and 2s just to have something going in here, but I cannot recommend this. I would recommend you actively avoid this. And yeah, let me know what you think about what I said. You could tell me what you think about the commander, but I can't really give you a good, I don't know, there's not much I can say about it because I wasn't able to really do anything. I was just totally shut out by everything. It doesn't matter what the color scheme was of my opponent's deck. It's a tier 1 deck. There's nothing I could do, right? There was nothing I could do. I could run more protection spells, right? But then I'm a turn slower because I always want to leave those up. And that's, again, backbreaking. If you're against Keenan, you're not leaving up mana for a protection spell, and if you are, you've lost the game. You're not fast enough. You're just not fast enough. So, your wife used to play this in paper. I like this commander a lot. And yeah, on paper it's pretty cool. I think it's just so honest, right? Like, your inner red-green Timmy just wants to play hasting red-green creatures and swing with them, right? This and Xenagos, which is not in here anymore. It's like, yeah, it's a cool strategy. I don't think it's broken in the slightest. I don't. I think it's totally fine. It's just, they decided it was broken, so it has to be in tier 1. And so splash damage, I don't know, collateral, I don't know what you call it. It just, it got pulled in with something. Someone at Wizards is like, this is broken, and then, because they lost to it 3 times in a row, but it actually isn't, so, now it just looks, stupid. Like, so, some insecure intern at Wizards putting their thumb in the scale, because they don't like this commander, so they'll put it in that queue, like... The ramble is probably going to be most of this video on YouTube, too. It's probably just me rambling, because, I didn't really get much gameplay. Every game I was getting stomped out immediately and couldn't display anything that the deck could do. Like, oh, I'm going to play my commander, and then I'm going to play... It's like I couldn't even show what it does, even in games I lost, because I'm getting swarmed and annihilated, and nothing matters. I can't even, like, get a creature into play to put counters on, because my commander can't live. Or the creature I target dies. right? I can't even show it doing anything and losing games. I'm getting shut out completely. So, yep, that's it. Let me know what you thought. I'm out. GG's.